You may have heard me talk about the Enneagram in the past. And the Enneagram is, roughly speaking, it's a personality typing system. And it's one of its main aspects is that it assigns 9 different personality types, and each person is typically one of those personality types. And the goal is not, it's not like a horoscope where you're stuck with the same personality type. Your goal is to transcend these personality types and to understand that everyone has a different one. And each personality type has an upside and a downside. And so these 9 personality types each has a number, 1 through 9. And my number is number 3. What does that mean? Well, the upside of number 3 is that threes are achievers. We're super productive and we're adaptable. And on the downside, we threes care too much about what other people think of us. Threes are characterized by looking externally at society for the definition of what is valuable. And then we emulate those things so we can feel valuable. That's kind of it at its core. So there's this resume consciousness of what have I achieved, this curriculum vitae consciousness, this list of achievements in my life that make me matter, right? Talents and skills. What can I do? What have I done? Right? So I'm a human doing, right? And I've even heard it said that our nation is a nation of threes. We are a nation of achievers, and we want to matter on the world stage. I mean, maybe that's changing nowadays, but that's typically the United States has wanted to have this opinion from all nations that we are a leader of the world. So whether you believe in Enneagram or not, and no matter if you've been assessed for your number or what your number is, all of us have a little bit of this threeness in us, this caring too much about what other people think. And caring about what others think can be helpful and necessary to a certain extent. You know, it's, of course, it's necessary to kind of check out the scene to see what's socially acceptable in your environment. It's a good skill to have if you're in certain professions. It's great to some people call it being a social chameleon, so you can be adaptable. But the other skill is it makes you sensitive to people around you. So there's a good side to this, as with all personality types. But too much caring about what others think is exhausting. It zaps our energy and it puts responsibility for our self-worth into someone else's hands. And we're trying to be a persona instead of the person, the authentic person of who we are. Coincidentally, someone texted me a couple of hours ago and said, "Oh, Karen Drucker gave the same talk topic this morning at a different church. I can't wait to hear yours." And instead of me saying, "Oh, goody, she gave the same talk topic," I was instantaneously thinking, "Oh gosh, Karen Drucker is such a good speaker, and how can I ever be as good as her? And this person's going to watch her talk and think mine is awful." You know, my brain's going to these little places of self-judgment. I could see that happening in me. And so you see how this kind of breaks down self-worth and putting yourself down for something that isn't even real. It's a transaction in my head that's not even happening. I'm making up this conversation of judgment. So going back about 51 years, I remember when I was young, I was incredibly shy and I cared too much about what people thought of me. And of course, I didn't know back then that that was the case. And part of that was the territory of being an identical twin. I remember my mom said to us, I think I was about 4 years old. She said, "Your brother knows the alphabet and all the days of the week. How come you don't? And all the days of, all the months of the year. How come you don't have all these things memorized?" And I remember exactly where I was. It was just, this keen memory and this sense of well, gosh, if he has it down already, I give up, because what's my place in the world, you know? And I started at a remedial reading level in kindergarten and the first grade. But once I did learn how to read, I learned quickly. And I loved pulling down the encyclopedias off the shelf. And I was, you know, they were bigger than I was. And the next year, I won a K-6 spelling bee when I was in the second grade. And I remember the exact look on my mom's face. She came and gave me this big hug. And my teacher, who was not a huggy person, her name was Mrs. Powers. You can read spiritual messages into that. She came and gave me this hug that was like one of these hugs. You know, it was like, you know, this teacher who was not a touchy-feely person, she was so happy that I had won the spelling bee. And I learned really quickly that approval is a really good thing. And I became sensitive to that. And I began to do things that would put me on a path to become like the valedictorian of my junior high and on to other pathways of success. But all the while on the inside, I was insecure relatively, and I was still shy, because they don't teach you self-love. At least they did not in my grade school curriculum. And I wish they did. I wish they did. So it's a lifelong journey. And especially as I embark this week on, I have 6 job interview appointments so far, 3 of them tomorrow. This topic becomes relevant because everyone knows that a job interview is one of the most stressful experiences that you can have. Someone is sitting across the table from you or across the Zoom room from you, and they are there to judge if you're good enough. So I started to think, well, wait a minute. No matter what they think, I don't know what they're thinking, but I'm there to judge if they're a match for me. So it's a mutual interview, and I have to think of it that way. And so that's helpful. So it's clear that this mindset of caring too much about what other people think goes deep. So how do we get rid of it? For those of you who are at the Bruce Lipton workshop on Thursday night, he said we need to unprogram our thoughts. And so I thought of a few ways that we can unprogram this habit of caring too much about what others think. And the first piece of wisdom that I wanted to reach for is from this book, The 4 Agreements, which I'm sure many of you have read, by Don Miguel Ruiz. A Practical Guide to Personal Freedom is the subtitle of that book. And the second agreement is don't take anything personally. And I'm going to read this passage to you. It's pretty funny. He says, if I see you on the street and I say, hey, you're stupid, without knowing you, it's not about you, it's about me. If you take it personally, then perhaps you believe you're stupid. Maybe you think to yourself, how does he know? Is he clairvoyant? Or can everybody see how stupid I am? You take it personally because you agree with whatever was said. And as soon as you agree on the inside, the poison goes through you. But nothing other people do or maybe think is because of you. It is because of them. Even when a situation seems so personal, even if others insult you directly, it has nothing to do with you. It's about them. And he goes on to say, even the opinions you have about yourself are not necessarily true. Don't take those opinions so seriously. Therefore, you don't need to take whatever you hear in your own mind personally. So I loved that. And I think that even then, if you're still wondering if someone is thinking something about you, is that true? If you're feeling stupid, right? You can go to the work of Byron Katie. And her book is literally her whole life curriculum is called The Work. And the work is just 4 simple questions. And I've said this before, but it really matches today's topic. First of all, she says, all the suffering that goes on inside of our minds is not reality. It's just a story we torture ourselves with. I love that. All the suffering that goes on inside of our minds is not reality. It's just a story we torture ourselves with. So she has this system for freeing ourselves from the thoughts that make us suffer. So when you're thinking one of these thoughts, you think to yourself, this first question, you ask yourself, is it true? And then you ask yourself, can you know that it's absolutely true that they think you're stupid? And how do you react? What happens when you believe that thought? What are the consequences? And finally, what would you be, or who would you be without that thought? That's the entire work. And she does, 2-week-long retreats in Hawaii that are nothing but delving deeply into those questions. It's basically saying, is that true? And who am I to think that it's true? And who am I if it were not true? I can turn these thoughts around, right? So there's a theme developing here, and that is, I think, the ultimate cure, if you will, for letting go of what others may think about you is this self-reliance, where instead of being guided externally, you're guided by internal resources. Brene Brown had a lot to say about this. I forgot the name of the book. It's the book that both groups are using, the women's group and the men's group are using. So someone please remind me after the talk. But I was looking at it last night, and she said, this is a time for audacious authenticity. Audacious authenticity. And that means to boldly be ourselves. And an example of this boldness, there's a quote by Terry Whitaker that says, what people think of me is none of my business. Isn't that helpful? That's helpful. What you think of me is none of my business, because my business is what I think of me, right? And according to Brene Brown, authenticity is the daily practice of letting go of who we think we're supposed to be and embracing who we are, cultivating the courage to be imperfect at the same time. I love that. So it doesn't mean that you get to be a jerk or you get to be a bully and that you get to act however you want to act, but it means not to be afraid to hold back what you feel your opinion is, even if it differs from people in the room, to express your own unique worldview and to respect your own unique worldview. It may not be the view of the majority of people, right? And to recognize that your opinion of yourself is what really matters the most. So this finding your value from the inside out instead of the outside in is the journey. I'd like to close with this final exercise, thinking about where bold, audacious authenticity, your personal power, if you will, where that comes from is source energy. It's our alignment with the God of our understanding, right? It's our alignment with source energy. And someone shared an Esther Hicks video day before yesterday that Esther Hicks said, you can't seek alignment with source and alignment with your neighbor at the same time. You can't do that. You're aligning with your source. So focus on aligning with your source. It's your relationship, as Esther Hicks would say, between you and you, which is the same relationship as your relationship between you and source energy, you and the God that is moving through the world as you. So I'd like to conclude today with a tool that came to me. And, in our faith tradition, we use positive affirmations. It's embedded in our prayers, I am statements or other positive statements of truth. And Esther Hicks would call it a rampage of appreciation. Okay, but whatever you want to call this is interesting because during the writing of my talk last night, there's an app on my phone called the I Am app. And up pops this affirmation. And I haven't paid attention to this app for months. And up pops this affirmation. And then I was curious because that affirmation was exactly what I needed to hear. And then I started scrolling through and writing down these affirmations that came from this silly app that I realized wasn't so silly anymore. That the theme was right around what we're talking about today. So I would like you to, just for a moment, if you want to close your eyes or if you want to do whatever you want to be centered, I would love it if you would repeat these statements after me. Just take a deep breath. Let this tension go. Maybe locate where this inner self is that feels self-love. Maybe it's in your heart space. Maybe it's in your belly, right? Maybe it's in your power center, right? So repeat each one of these lines after me, if you will. I have value and I matter. I am able to love myself for who I am. I deserve all the good that comes to me. I live my life for me, not for what others think. I don't expect myself to be perfect. I allow myself to love who I am, not who I think I should be. I am worthy of respect and acceptance. I have a beautiful heart and soul. I let go of negative feelings about myself. I let go of worries that drain my energy. I am gentle with myself as a best friend would be. I am gentle with myself as a best friend would be. The only approval I need is my own. I banish all self-doubt from my mind. I embrace hope, optimism, and compassion. I am not less for making mistakes. I am more because of what I have learned. I am and always will be enough. Let's say that one again. I am and always will be enough. All that matters is what I think of myself. I love the person that I am. I love the person that I am becoming. Thank you. So, boldly be yourself. Have that audacious authenticity as you go forward, knowing that your opinion of yourself is what matters most. And especially, it can be felt when you align with the source energy that is infinite. And so it is.
Come as you are, bring every burden. Come as you are, Bring all your shame, come as you are. I know you're hurting, but when you call upon his name and surrender, and you'll never be the same. Come as you are, all who are broken, come as you are, and find his grace. Come as you are, his arms are open. Let go and let God just have his way and surrender, and you'll never be the same. Oh, no, 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 no. Come as you are, your past is over. Come as you are, break every chain. Come as you are, he holds your future. All things are new. This is the day to surrender, and you'll never be the same. Oh, no, 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 no. You'll never be the same. No, you never ever be the same. It doesn't matter where you've been or the color of your skin. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Oh, it doesn't matter where you've been. Oh, you'll never be the same. No.